to talk about this movement, this anti-toxic movement, this smart shopping movement. I think it's always been around, but it really began to become crystallized back in the 1980s when consumers were just awakening to the fact that our environment was inundated with chemicals. And there were not that many environmental writers back then either. None that we knew of, except for largely Rachel Carson, who wrote Silent Spring. And one of the things I've had to do and we've had to do in this movement, and this movement is in millions of people because it's at its heart, it's just a very spiritual and godly movement of thinking about other people. What motivates me now is all my friends in Cancer Alley, who I play music with and work with and care about in a very deep way. We've become real family, and I really like that. But our shopping decisions on a day-to-day basis are killing them. I mean, I get so offended these days when I see a talk show host with a plastic bottle of water or an environmentalist holding bottled water that's made from plastic. I don't care if it's recycled. It's time. We're overusing plastic, and all that plastic begins at Cancer Alley. So we're a very young movement. We didn't even have the language or the words to express what was going on in nature, because in the 1980s, no one had heard of, except for a very few prescient scientists, terms like endocrine disruption or endocrine disrupting chemical or reproductive toxin or carcinogen or part per billion, much less part per trillion, which we're dealing with now with forever chemicals and some organochlorines like dioxin. I mean, in the 1980s, we were talking parts per million. We didn't know effects were happening in the parts per billion. So it was a time of waking up. And the books I've written, like Diet for a Poisoned Planet and Safe Shopper's Bible, my most recent book, Raising Healthy Kids, Protecting Your Children from Hidden Chemical Toxins, I've had to advance a language to express what's going on. And I think one of the biggest things I did in Raising Healthy Kids, my new book, is I talked about people. I put faces on statistics. I told the stories. I let the parents share the stories of when they discovered forever chemicals in their kids' drinking water, or how it was dealing with pesticides being sprayed in fields when you were growing up. I told stories about discovering that your community was contaminated with ethylene oxide or other toxic chemicals, or coal ash. These are all really important stories. I put faces because I said this movement involves millions of people. Most people, including myself, joined this movement because we discovered that we were victimized. It might be forever chemicals in our drinking water in Hoosick Falls, coal ash in Mooresville, North Carolina, or for me, DDT in the seafood I ate from the Santa Monica Bay in California. We discovered that. We don't want it to happen to other people. And we feel very fortunate because we see others dying in their 50s and 60s. And remember, kids, our friends who died in their teens and 20s from childhood cancer, and they're no longer with us. And now we begin to see why they disappeared. Maybe their lawns were being sprayed with a really heavy duty chemical back then, like D2,4-D, which is still being used. So anyway, I wrote Raising Healthy Kids for this very young movement and to educate you, to turn you into someone who's healthier than ever, because your body reacts immediately when you get good input, foods, products. And I wrote it so you can protect future generations and our country. If you want to learn more, you can get my book, Raising Healthy Kids, Protecting Your Children from Hidden Chemical Toxins, at Amazon.com or by using the link in this post.